Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, what happened here on CNN, I think, is a metaphor for what's happening. The Democrats are being ditched. You know, there was this whole narrative that they were building during the 2024 election, hashtag Republicans for Harris. They were trying to make it seem as if there were so many people on the right that absolutely hated Donald Trump. They really wanted people to believe that Donald Trump was this deeply unpopular figure, even in his own party. But clearly the phenomenon never really existed in the way that they were suggesting or the way they were portraying. And nowadays, I think it exists even less. And that very sobering reality, I think, is really starting to set in for these leftoids, and this is the perfect moment to exemplify it, because we all know the way the grift works on CNN, right? And of course, I'm not referring to Scott Jennings in this clip, but most of the Republicans that they bring on as contributors are always never Trumpers. John Kasich immediately comes to mind, and then of course we had Chris Sununu, who was a notorious anti-Trumper. Well, I think CNN just got the shock of their lives as they brought him on a panel, probably expecting him to give either a lukewarm take or an anti-Trump and anti-Elon take, but instead, I guess the energy has completely shifted. As Chris Sununu does a complete 180, I guess he's biting the hand that feeds him. He just totally excoriated Anderson Cooper and the left-wing hacks on this panel. Let me show you guys exactly what happened. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Okay, so just take a look at this clip. Oh, it's just so perfect. It's almost poetic. Anderson Cooper gets absolutely wrecked, and I guess he wasn't expecting it. He was so shocked that the only thing that he could think of was, don't be a dick on TV? Really? I guess stating the facts, I guess eloquently presenting an argument. If it's not the argument that Anderson Cooper was looking for, I guess that makes you a DICK nowadays. What a complete joke. It's obvious Anderson Cooper had no retort. He was pathetically doing his usual, trying to build a BS narrative. There's no proof. There's a lack of transparency here. That's the point that he was making earlier in the segment.
It was surreal, but I got to tell you, I know what you're not showing here. Musk gave 7 specific examples off the top of his head of where the corruption and fraud were. I know you didn't play the clips. He was talking about a contractor that had a 3-month contract. He was paid for 20 years. He was talking about welfare benefits that were being paid to someone that was technically 150 years old. He was talking about line items in the Treasury that had no justification.
There's no any actual, he doesn't present any actual evidence.
Well, he's standing there in the Oval Office. Do you expect him to come in with 10,000 pages? And I have to be clear, to complain about this administration about transparency, when this president takes open questions on a daily basis, yet Joe Biden didn't show up for a press conference this 6 months, is insane. Well, these guys are being extremely transparent. They don't have to sit there and take the questions, but they do. It's all on the website. It's all out there.
It's not transparency to say things that have no factual background. I mean, to say we're cutting, we've found $1 billion or $1 trillion in waste with no specifics, that's just talk. That's not transparency.
It's 23 days in here, guys. 23 days. You're talking about 2.3 billion that was saved last year. These guys are saving 2.3 billion a day.
Right, but
it's incredible.
That's what they're saying. But where's the proof?
You're waiting. You're not going to be satisfied till he shows up with 10,000 pages.
But we're talking about 10,000 pages.
Yeah.
He's giving very specific things,
yes,
but he's not actually giving any evidence of that.
It's all going to come, because what they also said was, if we have to go to Congress, we'll go to Congress.
Right, but
we'll show where it is.
Some of the details that have come out, like the $59 million spent on luxury hotels, it's actually not.
Talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants.
Yeah.
FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a dick. The portrayal, what I'm saying is the portrayal by him is...
But what a weak, pathetic leftist narrative that is. And it's funny how Anderson Cooper all of a sudden is so worried about transparency, because it didn't seem to matter so much, as Chris Sununu pointed out, during the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration. Joe Biden went 6 months without a single press conference. 6 months! Meanwhile, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are seemingly being completely transparent with everything they're doing. They're holding near daily pressers, speaking directly to the people, answering all the tough questions. Elon Musk just took every question the press threw at him in the Oval Office and explained exactly what he was doing. He even went into greater detail, which Chris Sununu also mentioned, as to what they're finding and what will likely be presented in the latest report, or probably the final report. But according to Anderson Cooper, it's not enough, right? He needs proof and evidence right now. 3 weeks into this administration, Elon Musk has to magically conjure out of thin air, through magic ability, he has to cast some sort of incantation that does a full analysis of the government's books, completes the audit, and lists line by line every single item, all the waste and all the fraud for Anderson Cooper. Otherwise, this administration isn't being transparent, and they have absolutely no proof for the claims that they're making. What a complete clown. Not to mention, we already have proof of abuse, and I think that's really where everything fell apart for little CIA Anderson Cooper. The moment Chris Sununu pointed to the $59 million that's being given to luxury New York City hotels to house illegal migrants, the moment he mentioned that story, that's the moment that Anderson Cooper knew that the jig was up.
FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
His narrative building had failed, and so what did he resort to? He resorted to an ad hominem, and of course attempting to build another narrative, this idea that Chris Sununu was just being a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Essentially what he was telling his audience was, just ignore everything that he just said, he's just being a big meanie. Yeah, I guess mentioning the facts means you're being mean. Oh, poor little baby, holy crap. But again, Anderson Cooper's core claim that no abuse has been found, there's no proof of abuse, I don't know, I'm not so sure about that one. FEMA defying presidential executive orders and sending $59 million to New York City hotels to house illegal migrants kind of seems, I don't know, a little bit unconstitutional, a little bit abusive. The whole thing is abusive and totally unjustifiable. The idea that FEMA would be spending money on illegal migrants to begin with. This is something, by the way, that we mentioned months ago, but the Democrats told us, oh, it wasn't happening. No, of course not. That's not happening. Remember all the fact checks that were coming in during the hurricane season, where Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina were hit pretty damn hard, and FEMA under Joe Biden's leadership totally botched their response. Remember when people were pointing out that FEMA was spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on the illegal migrant crisis? And people were suggesting that their priorities were a little skewed, and that probably had something to do with their failed, botched response. The leftoids told us that was fake news. Fake news. No, that never happened. Give me a break. It's obvious that Anderson Cooper is just chomping at the bit to discredit this stuff. He is a partisan actor who presents himself as just a neutral news presenter, and he once again got totally exposed, I think by a very unexpected guest. Again, I think CNN expects all these rhino-type Republicans to just fall in line and help promote their narratives, but clearly the environment has shifted quite dramatically, and a lot of people, probably in an attempt to save their credibility, are starting to come back to earth with the rest of us. And I think the mainstream media is learning a little bit of a rough lesson here, that they've lost complete control and that people just aren't going with their lies anymore. You know, it's just not a great environment if you're in the business of promoting Democrat fake news. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I just thought you guys would enjoy this absolute shellacking. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.